All right, so basically, we are getting ready to apply to a bunch of events as vendors. But I thought I'd make a video and just answer anyone's questions about how we choose which events to do, or how anybody chooses which events to do, either as a craft maker or a business owner or a sponsor or whatever it is. This is just my experience of participating in events. I've been an organizer of a marketplace event, and I've participated in about, well over 100 at this point. I've just been doing it for the last 12 years. When I first started doing events, I would just apply to whatever was affordable for the booth fee. And if it was juried, I would just pick something that I thought I might stand a chance at being accepted for. We've had to get a lot more selective about the types of events that we participate in. Our bandwidth and time and energy is just a lot more limited, and we have to be really strategic and not just kind of do whatever comes up on our radar. I think the first step is deciding why you want to do an event in the first place. There's quite a few different reasons you could be wanting to do an event. So if you are a hobby crafter, maybe you're only looking to make enough sales to cover the time it took you to make the stuff plus your materials. If you are running a business with it, then you need more than that. You're also trying to create enough sales to give you a little runway to grow your business or continue doing it, or just be able to afford your next purchase of materials. You might be trying to market your business and meet new customers. Are your customers the end users of your product or service, or are you looking for other businesses to work with? Maybe you're looking for retailers to buy wholesale from you. Maybe you're looking for contracting as a corporate supplier, something like that. Can't really make any decisions about what to look for if you don't know what your goal for participating is. If your goal is sales, there's a couple questions you should ask yourself. An obvious one is this a shopping event? There's lots of events out there, and not all of them are shopping. Sometimes it's more focused on entertainment. Let's say it's a festival with musicians and there's just like a little marketplace on the side. Most people who are going to that are there for the music, and they might go shopping, but that wasn't the reason they came. An event that would be shopping specific is like if you are doing a Christmas holiday shopping pop-up. It's pretty clear that the people who are going to that event are looking to go shopping and to spend money and buy things. What kind of products or services are the other vendors selling? This is a question you should ask yourself, because there's two ways this could go. Does the thing you sell or the service you provide fit in among the other vendors? Let's say it's like a theme. We do flower shows. So a lot of the vendors who are there are selling either things for gardeners or flowers themselves. And so we fit in there pretty well. But I will say the other part of that is there going to be too much competition? If everyone's really similar to what you're selling, then you might have a hard time competing with the other vendors, especially if they have more experience and resources than you do. With the flower show example, yeah, everyone's there because they like flowers, but there aren't a whole lot of other greeting card vendors there. So that really helps us be relevant, but still stand out and not have too much competition from other vendors. So that's kind of like the sweet spot for me. What is the price point of the things that other vendors are selling? You want to be kind of in the middle. You don't want to be way too expensive for the average, and you don't want to be the cheapest thing there because that's probably just not the right fit for you either. Some organizers will specify that price point in their application. They might say, like, we are really looking for people who sell things that are between the $10 to $50 range. That's pretty average. Is this event at a time that people are shopping? Are they shopping for themselves or for others? Again, going back to the holiday Christmas shopping example, that's a pretty sure bet that people are buying for other people, not themselves, and they're definitely looking to buy. Is the thing that you're selling typically something you would buy for yourself, or is it something that usually people buy for somebody else? Because that will affect the type of event you want to participate in. We generally look for events that are themed, like the flower show, because we know what our customers are usually looking for. So if it's something that's related to flowers, either it's like a botanical garden or a flower show or a harvest festival, there's a lot of outdoor events that are timed with the seasonality of certain plants. That's going to be a good thing for us because a lot of our products have plants and flowers on them. They grow wildflowers and herbs when you plant the greeting cards. If the event is all handmade, like a craft show, that might be good for you because you're not competing with people who are reselling product that they bought in bulk. And you know that the customers value that kind of craftsmanship and handmade quality. You have to be really serious about the numbers of participating. I've seen too many times when people who are new to being vendors just kind of jump in hoping for the best and didn't do the hard numbers to figure out what they would need to sell and how much they would need to sell in order for it to be worth their time or even just profitable at all. A lot of folks lose money participating in events because they didn't take the time or didn't know how to figure out what their expenses would be ahead of time. So, for the numbers, the first and obvious one is the booth fee. These booth fees can kind of range anywhere from $25 for a local craft show all the way up to the thousands, the tens of thousands for expos, for trade shows, any of these really big indoor events that are in convention centers. Those are going to be expensive. This is the rule of thumb that I've used since I started. You kind of want to aim for 10 times the booth fee as your sales goal. 10 times your booth fee will probably cover all the other expenses that you'll incur. Usually, I would do 5 times and I'm pretty happy, but 10 times is definitely the goal. 10 times the booth fee is the rule of thumb, but you should really add up your expenses ahead of time. Your booth setup is going to be a huge expense. You should take into consideration whether you'll need to supply all of the stuff, like your tent, your tables, your chairs. How much is that all going to cost to create your display? It can be as simple as just a tabletop display, or it can be complicated. It can be screens and things moving in different heights of display for more visual interest. The other expense is going to be payroll, or how much you would have to pay yourself for it to be worth your participation time. Payroll of staff, if you have any people helping you, how much does it cost for them to be there for the duration of the event? That includes all of the time of load in and load out, any travel time, plus all the time you spend preparing for your participation in the event. Another expense is travel. So if you are driving there, how much is your gas? Are there tolls? If you need a hotel, how much is that going to be? I recommend staying local until you kind of get a feel for the events and how your products and services do at these events. If accepting credit card payments is important to you, which it should be. Lots of people don't pay with cash anymore. You either need to make sure that you have reliable data service for your phone, or you will have to pay for Wi-Fi. Could be $10, could be $100. For big events, there may be equipment rental. Do you need to rent a dolly? Do you need to rent things for your booth, like walls, curtains? Do you need to rent chairs? Do you need to rent tables? If you need electricity at your booth for any reason, you will probably have to pay for that. Or you can do what I do, which is bring some kind of portable camping generator. I especially like the ones with USB ports in them so that you can plug in your lights, charge your phone, charge your card reader, do whatever you need to do. For a lot of larger events, you'll need insurance. Check with the organizers to see what their insurance requirements are and then find out how much that's going to cost you in the end. So if you're a food vendor especially, there's a lot of permitting involved. Otherwise, there's generally resale and tax collection permits, permits for doing business out of state. All those cost some amount of money. If you don't know what cost of goods sold is, or COGS, you should look that up. We might do another video about that in the future. COGS is basically all the expenses of what it took to produce your product or offer your service. So that's your time in making it, that's the materials, that's any services, professional services you may have needed to make the thing. You just need to know what your profit margin is for the things you're selling in order to know how much you're actually making from selling your thing. And that will determine whether or not you can afford to participate in an event. Keep in mind the difference between events that are direct to consumers, so you're selling directly to the end user of the product or service, or if it's something like an expo or a trade show where most of the participants are other businesses. If you are participating in an event that is mostly about making wholesale contacts, you're not reliant upon the sales that you did at the event, because most likely and hopefully those businesses will continue to buy from you in the future. So the calculus on those is a little trickier because you're not just adding up whatever you sold at the time of the event. You want to be able to keep track of the sales you brought in from any leads you generated from that event. Maybe your goal is actually marketing. Is this event going to help me reach a new audience? That could be like an event that appeals to a demographic that you don't normally come into contact with, but have a suspicion that they're going to be interested in your product or service. One example I can think of is that we floated the idea of participating in a tattoo convention. And that's normally not a place that we would end up in because it's just a different customer base. It's not a particularly shopping focused event. But the reason I thought about it is because one of our prints of my artwork called Skull Garden is really popular as a tattoo design. I've seen it all over the internet for the last 10 years. So that makes me think maybe there's a group of people out there who would be into our stuff that we haven't been able to reach before. So for that, you are thinking about how are you going to make a lasting impression with the people who are going to this event? Are you going to have a mailing list so that you can collect emails for your newsletters? Are you going to be demoing your product so that people know how to use it? Especially if you have a product that has some kind of function, you want to be able to get in front of people and show them how it works and prove to them that it works well, because it might be hard to do that online or just through a still photo. You might really have to let people touch and feel your product or taste it or whatever it is they need to do to get the full effect of why your product is great. The alternative, if your goal is marketing, is sponsorship. So you don't necessarily need to be a vendor at an event to accomplish your marketing goal. You could be a sponsor. Sponsorship for these events means that you pay an amount of money to the organizers to help them produce the event, but then your business is advertised to the participants. So there's usually different tiers of sponsorship that you can elect to patronize. I don't know. Um, so it could range from like having your logo on the directory or a big banner of your business hangs in the event space, or the MC gives your business a shout out during their announcements. Whatever it is, that might be an option as an alternative to participating as a vendor. The last reason I touched on for participating in events that's kind of out there is just having fun. If you're doing this as a hobby, then totally just do the ones that you have fun with, as long as you're not losing too much money, or as long as you're breaking even, or whatever it is you need to do to make it worth your while. For a while in the beginning, as a young person wanting to travel, I wanted to try and make these trips a business trip. So my goal was just to break even. The participation in the event kind of paid for the rest of the vacation. So one example I have is that I went to Austin, Texas for their South by Southwest event at a time when they are partnering with Renegade Craft. Event was okay, the sales were fine, but I was okay with that because I was mostly there to see Austin for the first time. I just wanted to go on a vacation to Austin, and the sales that I did for this event helped me break even. Now that our business is bigger and I have employees, I probably won't do that anymore. um, but it can be worth it for your team to just be excited to participate. I know for us, flower shows are a really big deal. They're really exciting. They're really fun to do. Pride events are a really good thing for us to do as a team. We've got a lot of queer folks on our staff, and it's just sort of fun to participate and have a time to celebrate together. We participate in a lot of local events just to kind of pop up in the community and say hi, because we're normally a private closed studio and people don't see us and can't come in. So we just like to say hi to folks, let them know we're here in the area, tell them to come back for open studios, remember us if you have any need for our products, that kind of thing. Some other questions you should ask yourself when deciding which events to participate in. Is this event the right size? So is it going to draw in enough participants for it to make sense for you to participate? How much work is it going to be to participate in this event? Is this event indoor or outdoor? Is it multiple days or just one day? And how many hours is this event open to the public? For us in this phase of our business, I've kind of decided that it's only worth it to participate in events that are generally multiple days. Way more worth it for us if we can just set up once and leave it there and get multiple days of sales out of it, rather than setting up for a day and then just breaking down at the end of that day. I generally prefer indoor events these days, especially because we sell paper products. When you're doing outdoor events, there's always the risk of weather stuff causing havoc on the event. You can get rained out, there's snow, there's wind. Wind is a huge one. You wouldn't know it, but your tent can be picked up and tossed around like a ball of toothpicks if you don't have the appropriate tent weights. Our products could get damaged by rain and wind. Even I've had folks who are shopping come in with an umbrella and just like lean forward, and all the rain dripped off of their umbrella onto all of our stuff and rendered it useless. So that's not good. Just taking into consideration indoor versus outdoor, it's a big variable for me. I don't like getting rained out. I don't like rain dates. So there's that. I generally don't participate in events that aren't open for more than 6 hours per day. It's just not worth it for me or my staff to come to an event to just be there for a couple of hours usually. Even if it's really poppin' event, it's not enough time. There's only so many people you can have face-to-face contact with in that span of time. Is this event in a city or is it in a rural area? If it's in a city, you've got other expenses to consider, like parking, taking an Uber. Definitely attend the event first if you can. I know that's not always an option, but it doesn't hurt to go as a visitor first and see what it's like from the customer's perspective. Ask previous vendors for their opinions and reviews. They have no reason not to be honest. So it's really helped me to talk to other vendors and ask them how they felt about events, or if I'm at an event, to ask other vendors for events they recommend participating in. Most of the time, people are more than happy to let you know what their experience was. And it's really nice to be able to share that feedback with each other. Ask the event organizers for attendee data. How many attendees did they get last year? And for the bigger events, they should have some sales data too. Like, what was the average spend per customer? How much was spent in total over the course of the event? Which days were the most heavily trafficked? Those are all things that can help you plan and decide whether or not you want to participate. Now that you've decided that you want to participate in the event, when do you apply? Well, for small events, the application period is usually anywhere from like 4 months in advance to just days in advance. For larger events, especially ones that take place in a convention center, you're probably going to be looking at applications anywhere from 6 months to a year in advance. And this is always the part where I get tripped up because I usually check too late. Events that are really popular are going to be competitive, so you want to sign up for their mailing list to be alerted as soon as those applications open up. When you start researching the types of events that you want to even look at, try thinking outside of the box. I know that when I started, I was kind of only looking at craft shows, but then as we got bigger and maybe kind of outgrew the size of most craft shows, there were a lot of other events that ended up being really great for us. The flower shows we just started participating in for the first time last year, and they were great, and we're going to do it again. If y'all have any other questions about events and being a vendor, please comment and let me know what you'd like to see in the future for videos. I'm sure I can make a bunch of other videos knowing how much inventory to bring, how to plan for these things, what the tips and tricks are for setting up a cool, eye-catching booth, tips and tricks for making events less stressful and less work. That's always nice because they are a lot of work. I hope you all found this helpful, and I hope you have fun participating in the events you choose to apply for. And let me know how it goes. Happy vending.